Now, all that's being claimed here is that if A can be spoken, it implies that A exists in some existent thing. In some sense, what we're pointing out here is that this brings B into existence with some existent element.
Okay.
Whereas here, that's not the case. Here, the language is splitting G, or is splitting A into two parts, right? It can separate out a part of it that language applies to. In other words, we've got A as something larger, and I mean, this is a really sloppy, intuitive way of putting it. A is some sort of larger set here, but language has the function, if we apply language to it, of separating out from that a B that is a smaller set. We say that this is smaller than A. Did that make sense?
So can I just translate this from this last statement for myself?
Yeah, please.
So no matter what you pick, there is going to exist a set such that no matter what other thing you pick, it will be the new thing that you've chosen, whatever it is, will be an element of that thing. If it's an element, if it's an element of that thing you picked, then whatever you say, and you say something about it, then it will be an element of the set that exists.
I'm not sure I follow exactly what you're formulating. Let me put it this way and see if this helps. Here we're presupposing the existence of a set A with an element G. And we're saying something about G. G is speakable, if you will. That implies that there is a speakable subset, if you will, a speakable set that we can separate G out to. All G's, right? G is not one element here. G is all G's. So everything that's speakable in A can be separated out into another set.
If I can interject real quick, something that, just a little bit on your terminology.
Yeah.
Speakable might be a little bit of what's confusing. So let's go with Frege real quick. There exists some B such that for all A, a function of A, therefore A is an element of B. Now, when you say that, right, well, what you can keep in mind is these statements, when evaluated for truth, can still be false. Right? So,
because it's just an implication.
Right. So in this case, what would our function be? People in room 402. Right? That is a function by which we can separate out from a different function. Chairs in room, right, 402. Right? So what happens is when we apply the function, right, the language of A, then we arrive at a set such that the set, right, the function of all the people in room B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, arrives at a set, right, the set of all people, which includes 7, right? Whereas for the Zermelo-Fraenkel, what it's saying is for all A's, there is an element B such that for all gammas, if gamma is an element of A, which is to say, if there's a room, right, and gamma, the people in it, is an element, right, among other elements, then there is a function, right, a selection out of the set of this room, whereby gamma is itself a new set. Not just the set of A, right, which is room 402, which would include tables and computers and windows, but a new set, which is B, which is the people in room 402, right? So B is a new set, but this is why it's not, you don't run into the problem, this existential problem. By having a language, a discernment, or a function, right? For Frege, that creates a new set. What the Zermelo-Fraenkel is saying is that given an existing set, right? So that's a supposition. Given an existent set, if there is an element of that set, or a group of elements of that set, then there is a language which can separate out, right? A function which can separate out such that that G, right, or whatever is being discerned for, is an element of a new set, B.
G, well, I mean, so I'm looking at the
Or
notes.
gamma.
Well, not even gamma, but I'm looking at the notes book, right? So going with the ZF, right, under the all A, the all gamma, and then the Y, the gamma belongs to alpha. That's a supposed existence, as I was pointing out, right? Looking and then the implied existence is for there exists a B, but then obviously goes to language, and then the multiple being generated out of that set.
So I think this may be a real, we should just put G's here.
Okay.
Badiou should have done it this way. If we do it this way, it's really easy to see the gap between the two, right? All that's happened here is that we've added a universal quantifier for A and made A a set here presupposed on the if side of the implication, right? Here, L, the lambda of G, is enough to produce this set of all G's. Here, you have to presuppose a set of G's that that lambda language function can separate out as a separate set. So here, that function itself creates the set B. Here, you've got to have some presupposed A set of G's that allows, from which that language can separate it out.
Can I interject just real
Yeah.
quick? It's, I think you misspoke, and you can correct me if I'm wrong correcting you. It's not that one has to have a set of G's, it's that one has to have a set of A's, of which G is an element, which is slightly different. So you've got to have the G's, but it's also got to be part of a set.
You have to have a set A of G's.
Right, right, but not, it's not that you already have a set of G's.
Yeah, you presuppose them here.
Yeah. And so it's not that you have a set of G's, right? It's that you have, if you will, a larger set of which G is an element, which is then separated out with language. But of course, by the axiom, I believe its extension, G can be an element of A, and i.e. all elements of G are elements of A, and also all elements of A can be an element of G, which entails, right, intuitively we should think that A is a larger set, but there's no necessity about that. Does that make sense? One, what I'm trying to clarify, and then two, also a possible pitfall for people.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, the reason I say a set A of G's is just that because we've got a universal quantifier here, that we're just dealing with whatever, you can put anything in with G. The axiom of replacement is what's going to guarantee that G could be an element of A or A could be an element of G, right? Thanks.
Well, later,
Okay.
we can look it up actually.
But
At the end of page 46, they also say it out as well. Moving on to 47. The declaration made by its implicative structure amounts to the following. If there is an alpha, then there is a beta, which is part of alpha, whose element validates the formula lambda of gamma, or lambda function of gamma. Go ahead.
Language, but yeah.
Right. But is there an alpha? The axiom says nothing of this. It is only a meditation of language from supposed existence to implied existence.
yeah, and that next paragraph I think is really helpful as well, right? What Zermelo proposes is the language multiple existence knot no longer stipulates that on the basis of language the existence of a multiple is inferred here, but rather that language separates out within a supposed given existence, within some already presented multiple, the existence of a submultiple. So yeah,
Do you mind if I use that marker real quick while you're talking on this point?
yeah, so what's happening here, and that's what you were reading, Jacob, from, is that here that it's presupposing that it actually can create that. But here that all that we're, is there actually an A? Is there really an alpha? It doesn't say anything about that. It's saying if there is, then this. All it's telling us is that language introduces this. But here, if there is a function, then there must be a set. Here, that doesn't follow.
Can I make another stab at translating the bottom one?
Yeah.
So no matter what thing you pick, like a G for example, if it's an element of another set and you can say something about it, then it must be an element of a still other set.
Yeah, then that language separates it out into some set that language separates out. That function assigns it some definition as part of this other set B. So if the function here is black things, right? Then everything that you say that of is going to be in the set of black things. That's what B is here, right? So A could be anything else, right? Swans. A is swans here. If G is an element of that, and of G we can say this function, that black things, then it's gonna be in this set of blank things, which is a submultiple.
Hey Joe, maybe you can help me out. What's the third level bracket? Is it just another
Could be
bracket?
a French
You should
bracket.
just do square brackets again, or you can do French brackets.
Right, but you can just use an extra bracket.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just do that.
Yeah, that's what.
Did that make more sense there?
Sorry, you guys can continue. I'm just trying
So, hopefully, I mean, and that's really,
That one belongs to.
I mean, that's really the rest of the meditation there.